Hello, everyone. Ed from Paranormal Inc., Ohio. Back for another true crime podcast. Tonight's podcast, we will talk about the case of Victoria Martens, the death of innocence, and how crazy this was. That this whole case, out of all the cases that I've done so far, which is a few, but I've watched true crime, read true crime for a long time now with my wife, and I think this is one of the most brutalest cases I've ever researched. And I just can't believe that people are this evil. I know I say that with every episode, but this was just extra horrible. Victoria Martens was a 10-year-old girl who was expecting to have a birthday party with her mom, Michelle Martens, and ended up some really terrible things happened. Now, I'm going to have to give you a warning that this is going to get very graphic. The details in this case are very disturbing. So, listener discretion, I guess, is advised like crazy, because this whole case even messed with me, and it's just terrible. So, yeah. Michelle Martin was a single mother of two. She had a boy and she had a girl. Victoria was her 10-year-old. And when Victoria was 9 years old, she was with another man who tried to kiss her daughter on the mouth. And I guess they ran some IQ tests on Michelle, and Michelle had low IQ, but there was nothing else mentally wrong with her or anything like that. And she got rid of the guy out of their apartment, out of their house. And she did not stand for it. She did not want that to happen to her daughter, which is why I can't understand what you're about to hear. But she ended up getting with Fabian Gonzalez, however you want to say it. And he was very weird. She was never allowed to tell her family about him, Michelle's family. Like, he said he wanted to wait before he met her family. And, that should have been a huge red flag. But again, anybody could really talk Michelle into anything. And when I talk to you about Michelle, I am not giving that woman any benefit of the doubt. She is guilty for her actions in this case. And she is a horrible human being, just like the other two. So, but I'm just telling you the facts of the case that I read, and it's just horrible. But Fabian Gonzalez, he didn't have a job. He didn't really do anything, but he was good with the kids at first. He was good with, making the meals, cleaning up, while Michelle had her job and was taking care of everybody financially. So she was real quick to have him move right in and didn't see any problems with it. But, it started getting a little weird. He would go out on these weird rides with her, and he would go to his cousin's house, his brother's house, his uncle's house, and would never let Michelle come in. And he would be in there for a while and would come back out until, this would go on for a while. And Michelle found out that Fabian was smoking some extracurricular things that are very, very hardcore. I can't say the name of it because it's banned on YouTube and podcast networks. It's so hard to tell these stories in these cases because so many words are banned and we can't just say what they are. But that's the rules. So let's just say it's like glass. That's the street name for it, is glass. He smoked that a lot, and When Michelle found out about it, she wasn't very happy about it, but she told him he could do it outside. She didn't want him doing it inside the house. To me, that would have been a huge get out, go. I don't tolerate that, and especially around my children. And but Michelle, being the person that she is, continued to let it happen. So not only was all these things happening, we're going to go ahead and Jessica, his cousin, Jessica Kelly, got out of prison. She was in prison for over 3 years. She had a extensive criminal background, and so did Fabian. Fabian had an extensive criminal background as well. But when Jessica got out of prison, she basically had nowhere to go. Fabian told Michelle that, she's going to be homeless. Just let her stay here for a week till she finds a job or finds something else to get back on her feet. So Michelle, being Michelle, said, okay, that's fine. But Jessica was very paranoid, was very flighty. She partaked in the same glass as Fabian did. She's very weird. She didn't like being alone with Victoria. She didn't like the fact that she was going to be a babysitter because Fabian had to go out and do this, and Michelle would go with him. But Michelle would still leave Victoria with her. And the day of her birthday, they were supposed to have this huge party at the park, and that didn't happen. And here is where the story is going to get very graphic. So just be warned. It's going to get very graphic. So multiple stories have come out from each one of the suspects, Fabian, Jessica, and Michelle. So many lies have been found out about what had happened. But what the police walked in on that day was Victoria's 10-year-old body, dismembered, and was burning inside the bathtub of the house. They had rolled her up in a carpet and thought they could go ahead and just get rid of the evidence by setting her on fire. They had cut both her arms off and half of her right leg. They had disemboweled her. They had took her organs and scattered them throughout the house. And now, according to Jessica, Jessica said that some strange man was there while Fabian and Michelle had left, and he had come and he had knocked on the door and said he was looking for Fable. Well, she thought he was looking for Fabian because that's one of Fabian's nicknames, street names, or whatever. And he said, is there anybody else here in the house? And Jessica said, no, just me and the girl. And as the strange man, that Jessica had no idea who this man was, walked down towards the bedroom where Victoria was. Now, this is her story. Instead of following him or trying to find out what he was doing, she went ahead and just went out in the patio and smoked a cigarette. And when she came back in, she said the man had come out and said, Fabian fucked up. He knows he did. And now I had to do what I just had to do, or it was going to be my family and me. And my kids was going to be like that. And he had left, and Jessica went down to the room to find out what had happened. And that's where she found Victoria. She said supposedly was laying in her bed and was dead. The man had choked her to death, strangled her. Autopsy did show that the death of Victoria was asphyxiation, and I'll get to that in a minute. So Jessica freaked out and was going to try to hide the evidence, so she decided to stay quiet until Fabian came home, and Fabian and Michelle came home. Michelle made them tacos because it was, later on in the evening. She said, oh yeah, Victoria's asleep. So Michelle was going to make tacos, so she made them tacos. They had dinner, and then Michelle went to bed. And Fabian said that when he had walked into the room, because Jessica had told him that, oh my God, she's dead. This man was here looking for you. Said he was looking for Fable. Said that you fucked up, and this had to happen this way. So Fabian went into the room, saw that Victoria was dead, and said that he was sneaking around the house. And he decided to dismember her body. That he decided to cut her up. And he was sneaking around the house so quietly that Michelle didn't hear anything. Well, that's kind of hard to believe when there's organs of this little girl in plastic Kroger bags scattered around the house. Like, why would you do that if you're trying to be quiet? So, there's a couple other holes in the story. Fabian flat out said he didn't have anything to do with it. And then Jessica jumped on that bandwagon saying she didn't have anything to do with it, that there was just this man that came in looking for Fabian, and that they did it. Michelle's stories changed every time. First, she had no idea that it had happened. Then she knew it had happened, and she wanted to call the police, but Fabian said no, that they were going to fix it. Then she was going to call the police, and Fabian and Jessica said, well, we'll kill you. And, then it was Fabian and Jessica admitted to doing it, and that they were going to kill Michelle as well. But police had found out that this was not the first time that something bad had happened to Victoria. And that Michelle had even called children's services on herself and on Fabian and on Jessica, saying that Victoria was in need of help. And she was doing it anonymously, but it had come out in trial that it was Michelle calling. And Michelle was the one calling children's services on herself, saying that the mother was, not able to take care of the child, and that Fabian and Jessica was doing all these bad things to her. And she would even try to do that. So they found out in digging and investigating that Michelle would solicit Victoria on Craigslist and other places to men to SA, to sexually assault her. Because she liked to watch it. That she got off on watching other people molest her 10-year-old daughter. That they had found evidence that this had happened 6 months prior to this little girl's death. That multiple men that she solicited came in and sexually assaulted Victoria while her own mother, Michelle, got off on it, was watching and pleasuring herself while watching this happen. Children's Services come back into the case and said that they were contacted, but they came out and checked out Victoria, and they even checked out her brother, and that there was no bruising, there was no marks, there was no nothing. They looked like they was well taken care of, so they didn't do anything. Did Children's Services drop the ball? Yup. Sure did. You've got multiple calls, even if it was from Michelle or not from Michelle. They said that they had got multiple calls even on Michelle and for Victoria, and they went and checked and decided that everything was okay and didn't do anything about it. So for 6 months, up until her death, multiple men had come over and sexually assaulted Victoria while her mother did what she did to herself to get off on it. You're a mother. Sorry, my dogs are going crazy right now. And evidently the mailman is here. So my dogs will go insane. But anyways, you're a mother. And when you're a mother, you're supposed to protect your children. And that is not what she did. And even Michelle's mother and father, the grandparents, said, oh, Michelle would never do anything like that. As far as they know, that she just smoked cigarettes and everything, and or anything else that was she didn't do. It was just cigarettes, and that's all she did, and she wasn't a bad person or anything. Well, Michelle had said, finally, she had made a confession that Fabian and Jessica sexually assaulted Victoria while she watched, like everybody else. But this time, while Fabian was sexually assaulting this little girl, he held her mouth shut and was choking her and just took it too far, and he choked her to death while he was forcing himself on her. And Jessica was doing things to herself and to Fabian and to Victoria while this was happening. When they realized the little girl was dead, they all three put their stupid heads together and decided that they were going to dismember the body and scatter the parts. So they cut her arms off and half her leg, and for some reason, which is still unknown to the courts and nobody has said anything, they cut her organs out, some of her vital organs. And, they found it around the house, her heart, her liver, I think it was a lung. They had found it scattered around the house in plastic bags in different parts of the house. And then they decided to burn the body. These geniuses rolled her up in a carpet and set her into a bathtub and lit her on fire. Didn't light the body parts on, the organs on fire. Just her body and her body parts, And police were getting phone calls. It's very hard to tell this story. I'm going to tell you what, I give it up to those true crime, YouTubers, podcasters, movie makers, documentarians, and this was very hard. It really was. The police were getting phone calls. The fire department got phone calls. Smoke was coming out. So when the police got there, they found the partially burnt body parts of Victoria, and these three numbskulls were just, first, like every criminal I've ever met in my life. I didn't do it. I'm innocent. We don't know what happened, but you just don't walk in on that. And these poor cops had to walk in on that. And it really messed up one of the cops. Really, really bad. Just the pure sight of it. So this 10-year-old girl, on was supposed to be a great day, her birthday, who was supposed to be protected by her mother, which was not protected, was brutally assaulted and murdered and dismembered and burned. And it's just uncalled for. Of course, they got plea deals. Jessica got a plea deal to 44 years with good behavior. She could be out in 22 years. Fabian got a plea deal of 20 years. And Michelle got life, which they all should have got the death penalty, to be honest with you. And now Michelle's parents, Victoria's grandparents, are suing the state because Children's Services did not do their job enough to protect Victoria. Now, the little boy, Michelle's boy, was not there. He was at the father's house spending the night, so thank God he was gone. that's needless to say. I don't know if he was being attacked or molested as well, but Victoria was, and she lost her life from the one person you're supposed to be able to trust. And it just sickens me. It just absolutely sickens me. How there's just so much evil. That's just... So, but there's still things going on in this case that they're finding out to this day, that there's lies and everything, but they've been convicted. That's it. The double jeopardy comes into play. Unless something exonerates them, which they've all three confessed, and they all took the deals, and they all kind of just turned on each other. But the whole outcome to this is a little girl lost her life so horribly at such a young age, and they all deserve death. So that was the Victoria Martens case. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I sounded a little somber, but that one was really hard. That one was really hard to tell, because it's just crazy. I could not imagine doing anything to my children, and how some people were just like okay with it, and how this woman was getting off watching these guys do this thing to her daughter. No, it was bad. But next week we will be back on Serial Killers of Ohio. I know I said I wanted to do, the next few episodes about that, but this case really caught my attention, and I feel it needed to be told. So next week we will be back on for the Serial Killers of Ohio on True Crime Tuesday. I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's episode. It was, like I said, it was really hard. But go to ParanormalIncOhio.com if you love the true crime. I have more true crime on there. I also have lots and lots of live investigations, paranormal investigations. I have ghost stories on there, all sorts of stuff. Like, I'm huge into the paranormal. You all know this, but true crime I really wanted to do this true crime podcast on top of everything else, just to kind of give you guys a little different taste of things. So I love each and every single one of you. Thank you guys so very much for checking out the episode, and I hope everybody has a great night. And you will hear from me Friday for Fear Friday with a paranormal podcast. Thanks, guys. Bye, everyone.